Hey guys, from the intro, I'm sure you can see that we are into August's BBB box. Before we begin, there's a couple things that I wanted to go over. One, I did get some emails and messages from some of you that were a little uninspired by this box. After getting all those messages, I decided it was my job to work really hard over the last couple of weeks to be sure that these pieces were beautiful and inspiring and easy to follow. Now the second thing is I did manage to do little mini tutorials in between a lot of the pieces that I made today so that you will be able to go and make those pieces right away. If some of you are waiting to make them, it's already September. It's September 1st. At the time of recording. I am getting August's box out quite early, and my other one says that it's already in the mail, so I'm actually really happy with the speed that they're actually starting to send these boxes off. It is windy out there. I don't know if you guys can hear, but it is super windy outside right now. I'm so glad to be in. All right, without further ado, let's get into this video. Okay, for my first piece, I decided to do the bracelet. I wanted to talk about the 22mm polymer clay succulent caps, and I've got two of these in the August's box. They have no holes, there's nowhere to attach them, and these are number 16 on your list. So what I did was I took my drill. If you guys don't have a drill, definitely get your own drill or borrow a drill. I wasn't even sure what to do with these the way they were. I mean, I could have beaded around it, but then it would have taken away from the actual cab itself. This is supposed to be a succulent, which is one of my favorite plants, by the way. Love these things. So I decided to drill holes. So I drilled 2 holes. Now what happened when I started drilling the holes is it went a little wonky. So one went this way and then this one went this way. I left it because I thought, okay, I'll just cross, you know, my memory wire, which is what I pushed through there, is 2 pieces of memory wire, as you can see. And then I used the 3.5 by 3mm crystal rondelles. That's these ones here. They're in grayscale mix. That's number 9 on your list. I used the 8mm natural howlite beads. That's these ones here. This is number 14 on your list. The 10mm howlite English cut, these ones here, number 15 on your list. And of course, the polymer clay succulent, 16 on your list. I used the 3.2mm steel spacer beads. These are in gunmetal, and I don't know if a lot of you just didn't like the gunmetal. Like I said in my intro, I did get some messages about the color of the beads and, you know, the findings. And then I used the 8mm green line jasper faceted beads. That's these ones here. And that's number 20 on your list. And then I used the 6x4mm crystal rondelles in sea green jade. That's these ones here. And basically what I did is I did both sides exactly the same. So I matched the side to this side. And then I used a 19.5 by 16mm ornate toggle clasp. This is number 12 on your list. And I used my own chain. By the time I got to this piece, I'd already run out of the Rolo chain that they'd given us. So I just used a piece of my own chain. Now I didn't have any gunmetal chain, so I just used the silver. And I think it turned out actually really nice. These cabs are quite pretty. And like I said, I do like the succulent plant very much. I have things hanging around my house that look like this. So yeah, I like it. I think it turned out nice. For my second bracelet, again, memory wire. I just used the silver memory wire that I have. And I just cut a piece that I wanted to go around my wrist. Basically, I want it to be like a bangle style. I love bangles, so. And then I used the 8mm coconut shell wood beads. These are absolutely wonderful. I love these things. They're so pretty. These beads just make this whole bracelet look so unique and very organic. I like it. I like the way that it turned out. These beads are number 3 on your list. I used the 12 millimeter glass round beads. That's these white ones here. I love these things. This is number 4 on your list. I captured each of those beads with a 9 millimeter scalloped bead caps, which I think brings just a really nice touch to it. Now at the end here, you can see I did put jump rings. I was planning to put a chain here. I still might. You can if you want to. I just find that adding a chain to the end there sometimes just keeps it a little bit stronger together on your wrist. I love these type of bracelets. I love bangles, are my favorite. Okay, so now we are talking about the key pendants. Now we got 2 key pendants in this box. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with these keys. They gave us 2 and they each have a loop at the top here. I was assuming, well, maybe they want us to make them into earrings or something because there was no loop here to hold anything. The idea of having these great big keys on my ears just didn't really inspire me. So we have a little mini tutorial of exactly how I got to put a loop on the other side of this key, and actually it looks really nice. I took a piece of wire. Now this is actual gunmetal wire. This is from Michael's, I believe I got this from. This is in the color gunmetal. So this is the wire that I used to work on these keys. As you can see in the photo here, I took a piece of wire. Now I think I cut about an 8-inch piece. I left about a 2-inch tail on the right, as you can see there. And then I just started twirling it around the length of the key shaft. I went all the way to the end. It doesn't matter how many loops you have, and that's totally up to you. Then I took my pliers and I put the smallest end into the end of the key. And then I pulled the wire over the pliers and the key. And the reason I put the pliers there is because that's where I want the loop to be. I pulled it around, I did 2 loops on the end piece and then came back around, pulled the loop back around the other way, and as you can see, I'm ready to finish that off. So I took the wire and I pulled the tail piece through the inside tooth of the key. So I don't know what you'd call that, but the inside tooth of the key. And I pulled it around once, and you can see I'm coming back around. And then I just pulled it inside the loop, and I pressed it down so that it's hidden inside and it won't scratch anybody. Then with the last piece, I brought it up and around, pulled it through any loop you want to, but this is the loop I chose, and then just made a loop, as you can see, in the front, and voila, now you've got a key with a loop in it. And you can use these you know, for pendants, or like I did with this pendant here. So then once that I had the key done, I took that and I took 3 lengths of Rolo chain. Doesn't matter how long the Rolo chain you want, it doesn't really matter. And I just put an assortment of beads on those and then pulled the Rolo chain so that they would sit layered. One is a little bit shorter, a little bit longer, and a little bit longer. I wanted it to sit like that when you wear it, and then used a really thick jump ring to hook all the chains together and through the loop that I created with the wire. And as you can see, I used the 8mm coconut shell wood beads, number 3 on your list. I used the 9mm scallop bead caps on this bead here, which is the natural howlite bead, the 8mm. Now the 8mm bead is 14 on your list. And then I used the 3.5 by 3mm crystal rondelles in grayscale mix, just at the end to hold everything together. And then I used the 10mm howlite English cut beads, 3 of those, number 15 on your list. The 3.2mm spacer beads, number 17 on your list, 1 here. I used the 6 by 4mm crystal rondelle beads in sea green jade, that's these ones here, number 21 on your list, those ones. And then I used the 8mm green line jasper beads. These are number 20 on your list. Basically what I did was I used my half round silver wire. I don't have any gunmetal wire like this like this wire that I use to always put these beads together. So I just use the silver, and honestly, you can't really tell the difference when it comes to this type of thing. Most of the wire is hidden inside all these beads. Made my loop, attached those with jump rings, attached the end pieces also with jump rings, and then by this time I had run out of Rolo chain. I used a lot of the Rolo chain on this piece and another piece that I'm going to feature here. So I had run out of this Rolo chain, and it just did not look good when I used a silver chain, and when I tried a green chain actually. I think it's antique bronze is what I tried. It didn't look good at all. What I did have 2 beads in the color gunmetal, and 11O seed beads also in the color gunmetal. So basically I put on thread, you know, one of my 2 beads. I think I got these from Amazon. If I can find them, I'll leave a link for them down below. And then I used 20 of 11O seed beads and added a 2 bead, and then 20 11O seed beads, and so on and so forth. And then I used a toggle clasp that came with the box, which is the 19 by 5 by 16 millimeter ornament toggle clasp, number 7 on your list. And to add the chain on the other side, I used a very large jump ring on this side. You need a large jump ring to go over the key, so I got a really big one. That might be even a 10 or 12 millimeter jump ring on this side, just so I can fit it in there and it'll sit properly. So it's going to sit a little bit offset. Okay, so this is the natural howlite slab pendant. It's actually quite big. It's 48 to 55 millimeters in size, so it is quite big, quite heavy. This is number 19 on your list. I had originally thought maybe I would bead around this, but when I did start beading around it, it did not look good at all. I did not like it. I just thought it needs to be left alone, completely open, this bead, this pendant. So what I did was I took a piece of thread, added a crystal rondelle, the smaller ones, added the 3.5 by 3 millimeter crystal rondelle in grayscale mix. I took a black one. I put a bead cap on top of that, and then added one more of the crystal rondelles, doesn't matter what color you want, and pulled it through to the back where I added another bead cap and another crystal rondelle, and then just took my thread and went back and forth, and I was tightening it as I was going through, and then just took on the back here, because this is the back part, and just tied a knot and clipped it off back here, and it is really nice and tight, very sturdy. And I like the way that this little piece here turned out. It just makes the whole piece, it looks really unique, and it doesn't take up too much space. Without taking too much of the pendant away, I think this really turned out nice. So I added these 2 pieces separately. So I did this side first, and then I did this side, and I'm going to show you how I did that. Okay, for the first frame, you can see that I added a little small crystal rondelle. That white one is the 3.5 by 3 millimeter crystal rondelle. I just used that as a stop bead, so nothing would fall off. So you can just use that as a stop bead. And I added 15O gunmetal seed beads. So all of these beads are going to be in gunmetal, my seed beads. So 15O seed bead, a black crystal rondelle, the same one, number 9 on your list, so a black one in the grayscale. 2 11Os, and then I used 6 of the 3.2 millimeter steel spacer beads, and then that's number 17 on your list. And then 1 coconut shell wood bead, number 3 on your list. That's an 8 millimeter bead. And then I used a 6 by 4 millimeter crystal rondelle in sea green jade, and then added an 11O seed bead to the bottom of that, and then took my needle and went right back up the whole length of all those beads. And as you can see to the right of the frame, my thread came out, and I have it sitting to the right of the frame. This is step number 1. Step number 2, you bring your needle back down, bypass the 15O seed bead, go down the crystal rondelle, the 2 11Os, and 3 of the spacer beads. Then you add 1 of your crystal rondelles, 2 11O seed beads, and 1 spacer bead to your thread, and then come back around and go through the very first spacer bead next to the shell wood bead and come and just go through that one bead and then go back down. As you can see in this frame, you go back down through the other spacer bead that I just added onto the other side. Then you add 5 spacer beads, your shell bead, your crystal rondelle 6x4mm, and then an 11/0 seed bead. Then you go back up again, going back up and missing your 11/0 seed bead. Go back all the way up to the first black crystal rondelle that you added, and then you add your 15/0 seed bead, and you come back down around through your crystal rondelle, the 2 11/0 seed beads, and 3 of your spacer beads. And you just keep on adding as many as you want. You can make it as long as you want, doesn't matter. This is where you're going to end up when you finally finish. You go back up 4 when you're finished, and then you add 4 of your crystal rondelles in any color you want. I added black because I had used black up here. So I added 4 of these, took my thread, went through the first loop in these 33 by 25mm swirled chandelier components. I took 2 of them. I took my thread and went around the first loop. I added 1 of the spacer beads and then went through the second loop here, as you can see, and then went around and back through the 4 crystals, and then started going back here and then just adding 1 gray bead right on top of this bead here, right on top of this shell wood bead, and then went up this way and added a gray bead here. So 2 spacer beads, you add a gray bead here, and then go up this way over to here, 2 beads, and then added a gray bead again. Now the reason I added the gray beads was because there was a lot of space in between this area here. This becomes a little bit loose as you work your way down, so I just went back through and added these just to take up a little bit of space here. And as well, it tightens up the piece really nice. And then once I had this side done and this side done and these chandelier components on, I took an 11/0 seed bead with black thread, and I just put the 11/0 seed bead on, did a loop around here, went through the 11/0, did a loop around the bead cap, and then back and forth a couple of times until I had it nice and solid. And I did that on both sides. And then to finish it off, I used the Rolo chain. Made my own little loop here with the 11/0 seed beads. Used jump rings here and added my Rolo chain. And then used again one of their toggle clasps that they'd given us, the ornate toggle clasp, which is number 12 on your list. And you can see from the pictures that I put up in the intro that it actually sits really nice. Very different looking piece, and it just adds to this slab pendant. I think it turned out nice. Okay, for this next piece, this is where I use the other polymer clay succulent cab here. So this is a succulent cab. This is a 22mm polymer clay succulent cab. It came with no holes, no nothing, just a cab. So I did the same as I did with the bracelet, and I drilled a hole. Now I only drilled 1 hole in here. It was really easy to actually drill this hole. I started here right in the middle and then went right across these 2 little petals here, right there. So I started with 7 of the swirled links. These are the 13 by 19mm swirled links, number 7 on your list. Here I added, on the end pieces here, I added jump rings, but in between each one of these, I did my half round wire. I looped it around here, looped it around there, and then just twirled the wire around and pinched it in so that it would be completely smooth, and I did that between each of the swirled links. Then I added the crystal faceted pear beads. These are the 9 by 10mm pear beads. These are number 13 on your list. And the 3.5 by 3mm crystal rondelle beads in the grayscale mix. I used 1 black one in each of those. And then the 24 gauge brass ball head pins, I put everything together with that, created my loop, put it around there, and then just twisted the wire and then pinched it in at the top of each of these pear beads. Then I decided to add the swirled tab beads. Now these are 15 by 10 millimeter swirled tab beads. These are number 11 on your list, along with more crystal rondo beads, 3.5 by 3 millimeter, 9 on your list. 24 gauge brass ball head pins, number 22 on your list. Put that all together and made my loop at the top. I pinched in the wire to get it hidden and away. I didn't have to cut, when I used these 24 gauge brass ball head pins, I didn't have to cut anything off. I just twirled them around and then pressed the end in so that it wouldn't be poking out anybody and it wouldn't be seen as well. And then attached to the swirled links with 2 jump rings on each one, and then I added all 5. Basically, that's all they gave us was the 5. I used all 5 in this pendant here. So once I was done all that, I used my roller chain to create loops right here. So right on the 3rd one from the right and the 3rd one from the left. So 2 little loops here. And then I added my succulent. So again, I drilled a hole, used half round wire to make loops on either side, and then used a very short piece of Rolo chain with a jump ring to add to these 2 loops here. Then I added these 2 loops here and attached them to these jump rings already existing for the succulent cab. And then to finish it all off, and encase my little cab here, I used 1 more piece of Rolo chain, more jump rings, and just added it to those jump rings. And actually it looks really, really nice. This looks nice when wearing it. Now I didn't have any Rolo chain left when I was doing this piece. I just used my silver chain and attached this. I'm going to replace this chain with a gunmetal chain as soon as it comes in. I did order some because I don't normally have this type of stuff on hand. Gunmetal anyway is not a color that I wear very often, but I think it'll look better with the gunmetal chain added, because this is very prominent gunmetal color. This looks really stunning, very different piece, and it makes this look really pretty. Like, this is featured very nicely in this piece. I enjoyed working with these actually. This is where I used the other key pendant that they'd given us, and if you look at the back, if you watched the first part of the video, you'll see how I did this mechanism here to create the loop here, because I originally had plans for this key in a different area. It didn't work out, so you still have a loop here if you want. If you did that to the keys, you still have a loop here if you want, you know, to hang a little pearl bead or something on here. The key pendant is 52 by 21.5 millimeter pendant. This is number 5 on your list. I attached that with jump rings to the swirled links. This is a 13 by 19 millimeter swirl link, number 7 on your list. And then we come to the handmade porcelain sheep beads. These caused me a lot of problems. I had 2 pairs of earrings done, didn't like either of them, scrap that. I tried a bracelet, didn't like it, scrap that. They didn't seem to be sitting right or hanging right. I just was not impressed with these beads. I just didn't like these beads. So this is how they came about, because I'm like, I don't really know what to do with these beads. Like, I don't know where to hang them. Being that they're porcelain, for me, means breakable. So putting them on a bracelet was kind of eh. I even thought about a keychain possibly, but again, porcelain just didn't feel right. They ended up on this pendant. I also used the crystal rondo beads, 6 by 4 millimeter beads, 21 on your list, 1 on either side, just to make up for, because these have really big holes in them. So when you use thread or even the wire that I used, they do flop around a little bit. So I use these beads to kind of stabilize them a little bit, and actually it looks really nice with my half round wire. I put everything together. I didn't have any of the Rolo chain left, so I did use my antique bronze chain, but again, it doesn't look great with the gunmetal. When I get the gunmetal chain in, I will be replacing that. But once I had it done, I still wasn't really sure. I put it aside thinking maybe I'll change it up again. But once I was finished and I put it on, it actually doesn't look too bad. You could have even used those with the big slab bead maybe if you wanted, but this is where they looked good. I don't mind them here. They're unusual, yes, but I think it turned out okay. And when I wear this piece, I actually do like it. It actually doesn't look too bad. Okay. Okay, now we are using the glass leaf pendant beads. These are really, really cute. These are, of course, my favorite color. The easiest pair of earrings I think I've ever made in my life. They are so cute. So we're going to start out with the 26 by 19 millimeter glass leaf pendants. These are number 1 on your list. And I'm just going to show you exactly what I did. So in the clip here, you can see that I used the brass ball head pins, 24 gauge. These are number 22 on your list. And I put 2, one on either side of the pendant, and then bent them both up. In this clip, you can see I bent one up, but you bend the other one up exactly the same way. And then once you have them bent up, then you add the 3 coconut shell wood beads. These are 8 millimeter coconut wood beads, number 3 on your list. And then you take your pliers and you press down. Just give a little bit of pressure and press down on the wood beads just to make sure everything's really nice and tight. Then I just bent the wires over the pliers, readjusted my pliers, and then bent the wires back and around one side of the pliers there. And then just twisted them around until the end, and then just press the little ends in so there was nothing sticking out, and that's what they ended up looking like. And then just take your ear wires, whatever ones you have there, and just add them. Voila! The cutest pair of earrings and the fastest pair of earrings I think I've ever made in my life. They look really pretty, and in the sun, these really glow. Like, they look really pretty. I'm going to enjoy wearing these for fall. If you're like me and you enjoy a really nice, long, bold earring, these ones actually worked out really well. I like the length of them. They're very long, so if you have long hair, they're going to show through that long hair. And they're not heavy. I don't like a heavy earring. Just do not like heavy earring that pulls down on your ear and just makes it look terrible. I used the 8 millimeter coconut shell beads. I used 3 on there and attach those with 21 gauge brass ball head pins, number 22 on your list. These are number 3 on your list. And then just attached that to the middle loop on the bottom of these swirled chandelier components. These are 33 by 25 millimeter, and there are 6 on your list. Then I took some more half round wire and added the crystal faceted pear beads, the 9 by 10 millimeter, number 3 on your list, and then attached them to these swirled links. These are number 13 on your list. These are the 13 by 19 millimeter links, and they're number 7 on your list. And then just added my own ear wire. And they actually make a really nice, beautiful long earring that is not too heavy, but definitely makes a bold statement. I really like the way these sparkle. In the sun, they look even more beautiful. So for the surgical steel ear studs with a loop, I decided to do something really simple with that. So these are the 13.5 by 10 millimeter surgical steel ear studs with loop. These are number 18 on your list. And I just put everything together with the 24 gauge brass ball head pins, number 22 on your list. The crystal faceted pear beads, number 13 on your list. These are 9 by 10 millimeter. And then just put everything together, made my loop, added a jump ring, and voila. You have a very sparkly, beautiful little earring that pretty much goes with most of the pieces that were made here today. Okay, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the tutorials and the little mini tutorials that I kind of put in there just to give you a reference on how to make some of the pieces. If you guys do try some of the pieces, please let me know. I would love to see them. In the past, you guys have been subject to send me photos or feature your piece on Instagram or whatever, and I really enjoy seeing that. Don't forget to tag me when you do something like that. I would love to see your finished pieces. Please don't forget to like this video. It helps out my channel quite a bit. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you know when I've uploaded my next video. So with that, you guys have a great day, and I would love to see you back here for my next one. Bye.